Hello, everyone. Let's get started. This is a lot of talks in one. So I'm going to start by showing you some of the critical vulnerabilities in React. Then we're going to take a look at how does artificial intelligence do at building React code. We're actually going to do a demo live across all 5 frontier models. Wish me luck. This is not a contrived demo. We're going live to AI. Once we see how AI does at building secure React code, we're going to evaluate it. It's bad. It's extremely bad when you're using raw, unprompted, unconfigured AI like most corporations of the world. Most corporations go get a Copilot account, get a Cursor account, throw it out to developers and go be 40% more productive. And that's total bullshit at a very deep level. So we need guardrails, maturity, system prompting, and like some kind of process around vibe coding. So what I call this is enterprise vibe coding. Vibe coding, now vibe coding actually is a formal definition to it. It's in the dictionary as of like last week. Several dictionaries have, vibe coding is just using AI to use natural language to write software. But there's an implication to vibe coding. It's dirty. It means you're doing it low process, you're not necessarily even a programmer, you're not using maturity, you're just whipping out vibe with natural language and pushing it live and making millions of dollars. Great. We want to do better than that if this technique is going to proliferate across software development in a meaningful way. It already is, but let's make it more meaningful. But I want to, again, before we get to AI, let's just start with React. React has dominated the world of software engineering as the absolute top secure coding engine. So the first thing I would tell a junior developer working with me, if I wanted them to write secure React code, the first thing I tell them what their role is. You're about to become an expert idiomatic React developer working on 19.2, the latest version of React, and I want you to build secure, maintainable, and idiomatic React. Idiomatic means you're not doing like direct ref modification and building off the rails in a non-standard React way. This is what I'm going to teach AI when I build a system prompt for React development. I would tell the same thing to a junior developer to prep them for their job and working with the team. Now, when I look at AI, when I look at React in general, there's 2 basic vulnerabilities I'm looking for, or 2 attacks I want to deal with. Someone looking at my source code, view, source. And if you're using obfuscation techniques to hide your code for me in a client-side web app, how long would it take me to de-obfuscate it to look at it meaningfully? Like a couple seconds with different tools. So whatever you're doing to obfuscate or make your JavaScript hard for me to analyze, it literally does nothing to slow me down or any other attacker down. So once you drop code to the client, we're going to look at it as a security adversary, right? And what should not be in source code? What should not be in source code is significant. Things like, I should see no hard-coded secrets like server-side API keys. No, do you agree? How much access control should be in client-side React code? If you never want to show to a user or an adversary any kind of form component, data, or any kind of markup that they don't have access to, how much access control should I do in a client-side React application? Absolutely 0. And developers are like, well, I want to say, if they're an admin, show the admin button. And don't worry, I'm blocking it at the API level. And I'm like, no, that's a slippery slope. You enable a button with the role switch today in client-side code, and tomorrow you're dumping huge JSON objects that you're controlling access on the client, and this is a failure to security. So say that, how much access control on the client? Say it. None. Don't do it. Split out your interfaces for different roles, or you can use lazy loading to dynamically load components. So no access control. Don't use the old React lifecycle methods like component will mount. They've been flagged as deprecated and insecure for many versions. No direct DOM manipulation. All right, chance for confession. Who uses refs to manipulate the DOM directly? Confess. Confess. Come on, who does it? I know you do it. I know. You can't help it, right? Don't do it. Don't use refs. When you use a ref, you're skipping React, going right to the DOM, and you're dropping all of React security layers. No inline scripting, no props or types. If you're doing low-level componentry, props and types need special consideration. If that's raw user input, That can lead to a vulnerability. Don't put sensitive data in local or session storage. That's long-term or at least stealable storage. No deprecated or vulnerable packages, misusing a library, or user parameters where they type in a URL. Like in social media, hey, what's your homepage? Here's my homepage, JavaScript, steal your cookie. That's a legal URL, by the way. So this is what I'm looking for, not to be in client-side code. Here's a code snippet from an interface I saw recently, the admin panel, right? Multiple users can see this. Your role as an admin. And if you're an admin, I'll show you the API key. How much is this going to help security? 0. This is the slope you go down when you start doing client-side access control. So other things that I'm looking for would be, like example, if I'm doing like low-level componentry and I'm using create element, the first argument is your type. The second argument are your props that usually land in an attribute. The third argument's the children. That's the renderable data, right? So the type, the first argument, that's a tag name typically. That gets no validation, no chance to control it. When you set a type, that gets rendered raw. So if that's a user variable, what happens? I can drive that text. I can put a script tag in with evil JavaScript that could steal data from your page, do keystroke logging, deface the page, and similar. So that first argument can't be a variable that's user-driven. The second argument is a prop. And where I see developers misusing a prop, if they do something like this, I know it's contrived, but if you're doing button and you have an on-click handler with prop data, we're back to a vulnerability. Because now user input will drive JavaScript when that click handler is executed. So a prop can get escaped. You control the prop. But if you escape a prop and put it into an action attribute, like on click, on blur, and similar, you're back to security vulnerabilities. The user presses the button and my code from the user executes. So these are the things that I would teach a junior developer or AI to do secure React development. Like my rules would be like, hey, React, create element types. Use allow list validation for tag or component names. So allow list validation or don't do it at all. Or for props, right? Validate React, create element props. Use prop types to validate props. Avoid passing prop data into an executable attribute like on click. So I'm formalizing these rules that I would give to a junior developer. The other major problem in React is this. If you ever try to do this in ESLint with the React rules on, you will get penalized for this. You'll get buzzed out. Bzz. Href is a URL, and ESLint is saying, hey, if you're putting a URL in an attribute that's a URL handler, that's dangerous. What kind of URL is legal that I could enter into a link that would lead to cross-site scripting or JavaScript injection? You know, HTTPS, HTTP, FTP. There's a protocol, a scheme called JavaScript. So JavaScript, my attack code, and now I'm stealing data from that page. So even ESLint says, don't do this. Script URL is a form of eval. That's code execution. So when we take a look at, and by the way, this is not like an academic issue. I track some of the Swiss researchers from Google, Michel Spagnuolo, Lucas Weichelbaum, and Chris Christoph. These are like the JavaScript standard body leads and content security policy leads. They know their stuff. And so they tell me that JavaScript URLs like this, which is one of the big bypasses against React code, this is 1/3 or more of all successful attacks that hit Google properties. So this is not theory. This is real-world bypass, a JavaScript URL that defaces my cat love website saying that dogs are great. This is terrible defacement. I'm a dog. I'm a cat person. Let's move on. Here's another bypass, right? I see a payload, a JavaScript URL that's entering form action, but it's landing in JSX properly. Even though the attributes escaped, when you have an event handler like form action, on click, on blur, on mouse over, that attribute always decodes and executes. If you put an HTML entity encoded URL in an attribute, it still works. That's how the browser works. So this is another top tier vulnerability. You're putting an attribute in an event handler that will execute when it's pressed. So what are we going to do? How do you handle this problem? What I teach developers is, let's do what Angular does. Now, no one should write Angular. Friends don't let friends use Angular. And the way that you edit Angular apps is to remove that code and move to React 19.2. That's terrible, opinionated. It's not fair to say that to Angular developers, even though it's true. Let's move on. So I'm going to emulate Angular by doing client-side validation. You got the React team, you got the API team. A React developer, anyone here work with API developers and you focus on the React code? Who's a React developer that gets fed a bunch of data from API developers? Someone raised their hand and lied to me. It's okay. So React developer, how often are you getting the API guys like, don't worry, or the API person's like, don't worry, I'm going to give you the data in this format and you're safe to render it. You're like, thanks. Then they give you something completely different and now your client's exposed and it's client code. The API developer is, you shouldn't listen to me. Sorry about that. So this happens to me all the time, where I get this promise from the API guy and then I'm vulnerable on the client because I trusted API data. So when I build React code, I never trust the API developer, especially if that's me. So what I do here is I'm going to build a validator and try to achieve perfect injection resistance in React. No matter what data you give me and no matter where I render it, I'm going to render it with safety in mind. And all jokes aside, Angular does this well. React does not. We got to figure it out ourselves. So this URL validator says, if you're a string, bail with the pound. If you're not a legal URL, bail with the pound. If you're not HTTPS or mailed to, bail with the pound. And so, yeah, that's these two lines of code right there. Anyways, so I'm now bringing URL validation into React by giving my developer a rule. I also want to make sure that any kind of untrusted user URL, it lands in an href attribute anchor tag with target is blank and with the relative to be no opener, no referrer. That will stop an attack called tab napping, kind of obscure. And so my rules to a developer would be, look, if you're going to render user-driven URLs on the client, then do strict URL validation with this utility. And if you're going to render user-driven URLs, put it in an anchor tag with target is blank, with no referrer and no opener. So I'm now providing rules of how I think my developers should write secure code. Let's do one more. If you're doing WYSIWYGing, do you like to WYSIWYG? Are you a WYSIWYGger, sir? You don't WYSIWYG? Do you WYSI? Come on, you WYSIWYG, Tobias. I love to WYSIWYG. I don't care. I'm not ashamed to WYSIWYG. What this means is I'm going to use an editor like TinyMCE that takes rich text. You can do bullet lists. You can change the colors of the fonts. Isn't this great? Numbered lists. I mean, you go crazy. When you hit submit, it's a big blob of markup. It would be trivial for the attacker to modify that markup. And by the way, if you're one of the cool kids, I'm old, so I'm going to use TinyMCE. But if you're one of the cool kids, you're using Fraola. This is a great WYSIWYG editor. It makes WYSIWYGing a joy. So, but what's the deal? Then I go to like Stack Overflow and say, hey, I'm trying to render my markup from Fraola, but React keeps escaping it. So how do I turn off React's escaping? Then you go to Stack Overflow and they say, don't worry, just dangerously set inner HTML and all is well. Let me ask you a question. What's your name? Christian, if you're putting untrusted data into dangerously set inner HTML, then what kind of life are you living? You're living how?
Very good, I would assume.
Oh, God. You're out. Security, remove him from my class. Get him out of here. You're living dangerously. And it's right in the freaking name. Is that function name clear enough for all of you? How are you setting HTML? You're setting HTML? Thank you. So how do you deal with this? Anyone know? This is using a WYSIWYG editor as like an admin console or blog post. This is a common thing. So if you're using a WYSIWYG editor and spitting out HTML to the API, how do you render it safely? Just dump it in, don't worry about it. No, we want to use a library, and one of the most famous libraries in the space is called DOM Purify. It's written by a German engineer, Mario Heydrich, out of Berlin. I think he should have used a different name than Purify as a German engineer. This is a different story. But anyways, so DOM Purify here, it's going to take any string and run it through DOM Purify Sanitize and strip out all the JavaScript. And this library is going through like 10 years of security assurance. It makes mistakes at times, so you keep it up to date. You all keep all your libraries up to date because you care about security, right? Excuse me. Yeah, but for security libraries like this, you gotta keep it up to date. So these are the rules. These are rules I'm teaching junior developers. Minimize use of dangerously set inner HTML. If you use dangerously set inner HTML in React, then you got to sanitize it with DOM Purify. Make sure it's installed and using at least version 3.26 or use the latest version. We're building security rules. So far, so good, right? These are the principles we just covered. That's like 99% of React problems. You with me so far? So let's take a look. Let's play AI generating React code. I'm going to jump in to, I'm going to share out my screen here. I'll show you my ChatGPT console if I can do this right. Display menu. I can do this. I can use a computer. I'm gonna mirror from bird. There we go. Whoa. Okay. So I'm gonna start with ChatGPT 5.1. I'm also gonna do Copilot. I'm going to do Claude. Break my heart, Claude. I'm going to do Grok. Damn you, Elon. Then I'm going to do a missing one. Gemini, PhDs at Google with too much time on their hands. All right. We got the major 5 AI engines of the day. I'm going to start with this. Ignore all past memory and custom instructions. Answer this as if you're a brand new user with no history. Because I have history with ChatGPT 5, and I have history with Copilot. So I'm going to start by pretending it's a blank account. They both recommended I do this if I want to start over. Then I'm going to ask the question. This is a developer prompt. Create for me in React a user profile page with the username, first name, last name, homepage URL rendered as a link, and a profile description rendered as HTML to demonstrate these critical weakness areas of React. So I'm going to grab this. Developer prompt. And what am I going to do now? What am I doing? Vibe coding, yeah. Let's do it. So I'm going to dump this request into ChatGPT 5.1, into Copilot. I'm too cheap to buy Claude because Claude promised to be this great ethical AI engine and then stole my book. We sued them for $1.5 billion. I only got like $3,000 of it. And then they promised they were going to be ethical and cheap. Then they boosted their prices. You're an a-hole, Claude. I don't use them. Grok. Damn you, Elon. Get a grip, dude. Stop doing so many drugs and going to the White House. And now Gemini, I like Gemini. All right, so let's see. Is my editorial okay? Sorry, I know. Jim, when you're never talk about politics. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Implementing secure React component. Here Copilot just rocked it out. Copilot, if you do this raw in a raw Copilot account, I never see him use DOM Purify. But it's doing all these security layers because my account has so much history, so I don't agree this is no memory. It's doing trusted types. It never does that unless I ask. So it's doing a good job though, right? It's got a policy. Let's see where it renders. It's going to render the safe homepage that goes through a validator, and then they have no opener, no referrer, and blank. That's pretty good. And then they're doing sanitized description. So Copilot's good, but it's on my account. They're not, neither ChatGPT or Copilot are honoring my request to wipe out the account. They're adding controls in. If you have an empty account, I could try to do, what other mode can I do this in? How can I make sure ChatGPT, I can even put it in privacy mode, but they still fire my rules. Let's try it against the other ones. I do not have a history with Claude at all. So Claude is going to, And again, if you have an account right now and you try this exact prompt in raw Copilot or raw ChatGPT, you're going to see what I see in Claude. I only have large history accounts in those two areas where I do my work normally. But here's Claude, right? Claude is rendering a home page in an href with absolutely no validation. Again, 1/3 of all bypasses is because of that exact code. That's terrible. And then down here, they're doing dangerously set inner HTML on a profile description. How are they living here? Dangerously. Now we're taking a look at, what's this? This is Grok, right? Grok writes some clean code. I like Grok as a coding engine. I just prefer not to use fascist-based AI. So what do we have here? We have a homepage, href is homepage. That's 1/3 of all bypasses. Then we have dangerously on dangerously inner HTML and a description. These are two top-tier React bypasses. And I give Grok a lot of credit. They write the cleanest code of any engine, but they write their vulnerabilities in clean code. Now I got Gemini. Now Gemini, they're supposed to be this big PhD, super smart engine, and they do all this extra fluff I don't need. And the home page is right there in a raw href, 1/3 of all bypasses. And dangerously inner HTML and a profile. Oh, the profile description renders HTML using dangerously. This is dangerous. You shouldn't do that. And I'm going to do it right there. So I'm like, yeah, your comment doesn't help me. This is the status of AI today. I really want to show this off. I wonder if I can just log out of my account. Let me see if I can pull this off. So log out. I should be fully out of my account now, but you still should let me rock. Yeah, good. So I'm going to stay logged out. What are you working on? They're not going to let me choose, but I should still be able to give this a try. So go ChatGPT free without any of my crazy rules. Yes, that's what I see in most enterprise ChatGPT. What do we got? We got a home page being rendered raw. We have dangerous at inner HTML raw. That's what I have to log out of my account where I have all these rules. Always write secure code, always do security, always be verbose technically. I have all these rules to like guide ChatGPT and my personal wish. And you can even make it, you can make ChatGPT cranky now. The default personality is sycophant, is like, let's be nice to this person. Go use your profile, and one of the first ones is cynic and cranky. Oh, I love it. Then it's a real jerk to you. Why are you even asking me this question? You can do better than that. I'm like, really? Yeah. So I'm on friendly mode. But look, do you believe me now that AI is writing ridiculous insecure code? The top tier vulnerabilities of React? Have I demonstrated that in a fair way to you, everyone? Are you with me? And if I was a senior engineer and I want my team to vibe code, let me do an analysis first. And I start doing dev prompts and I see this kind of code, do you know what I would do? I would give up on AI, because having a lot of fast generated, radically insecure code doesn't really help most enterprises. It helps the little vibe coding companies building a multi-million-dollar company on one prompt. That's great. But for those of us doing real work and like people's lives are at stake, or the wealth fund of Norway, or like our social services or finance sector, depends on us to get this right. AI fails terribly. And then what Claude's going to tell you is, don't worry about that Jim stuff. Here's what we're going to do at Claude. You're going to buy a bunch of tokens from us, and you're going to use Claude Code. And it's going to like give us your architectural requirements, and we're going to write some code. It's going to be really insecure, but we're going to pass it to our MCP review agent, and we're going to fix some of that code. We're going to pass it back to your coding engine, and we're going to fix that code. We're going to scan it again. There's a few more vulnerabilities. We're going to pass it back to your coding engine, and we're going to fix that code. And we're going to loop, and we'll fix all those problems. Oh, and by the way, your monthly token count, even though you've been using it for 1 hour, your monthly token account is empty now, but click here and you can buy more tokens. This is how heroin addicts do their business. This is how drug dealers and heroin addicts, that's how they do their business. Claude, in my mind, is no different than a junkie on the street selling little bags of heroin to developers. We got to do better than burning money in tokens, spinning to do these agentic fix-it loops. I don't buy that. That's a great way to sell tokens. That is not a great way to write software. So what can we do? Here's the question. And by the way, we are all being supplemented by the cost of tokens. How many of these AI companies or AI products are profitable? None. In fact, OpenAI is not going to be profitable to 2030 at the best. They're dropping about $1 trillion in infrastructure right now. So they are supplementing our tokens. The actual cost is about 10 times as much. How many of your companies are depending more and more on AI every day? That's all of us. And pretty soon, you're all using AI to write code. You're getting a 30, 40% boost in productivity at least. And then Claude shows up and says, the cost of tokens went up by 10, and we are all screwed. That's the bubble bursting in AI. Not that we stop using it, but that the cost of it becomes normative so these can be profitable companies, and we're all going to lose out. So what can we do? How can we get AI to write code better the first time? There's 3 ways. You can train your own model from scratch with good coding samples. There are teams around the world working on that. It's an expensive, time-consuming problem. The second thing you can do is you can fine-tune a model with secure samples. That's also a lot of work. But what people really want, in my experience, is to teach a frontier model how to write secure code. And the way that we do that is with a technique called writing system prompts. These system prompts you can deploy as a co-pilot private agent for your enterprise. You can deploy it in the instruction set of your IDE that's AI aware. You can deploy system prompts as like a Gemini gem, as an open AI agent. All of the mature frontier models that offer you enterprise services, there's really 3. If you're using Cursor, underneath the hood of Cursor, what are you using? ChatGPT 5 or 5.1? Or you're using Claude, one of the advanced coding model, or you're using Claude Code. That's what those 3. Is anybody using a different model besides those 3 in their work? Is anybody here with me in the room right now? If you're with, so those are the 3 engines. So let's take a look at my prompt for React. So this is the things you showed in the presentation. Security principles, React 19.2 only. Notice these are all like sentence fragments or like one-shot sentences. My earlier prompts were these big, verbose dissertations on all the weird edge cases, and AI said, nope, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Jim. So I went through a lot of revisions by debugging how AI processed these. And the more complex the rule, the more criteria they need before they fire it. The more brief and concise my rule is, the more AI extrapolated from there and applied it well. This is like the 8th generation of my rule set, and it is very clean and works well. We'll look at it. Coding rules. Default escaping. Interpolate untrusted values in JSX with your mustaches. That's React escapes. Avoid dangerously set inner HTML unless you're using DOM Purify, and for bonus points, you can integrate it with trusted types so it fires automatically before you're allowed to set the DOM. Dynamic CSS. Never inject raw CSS from a user. When you're computing a selector, use CSS escape. When setting style values, restrict to safe expected formats, like a numeric pixel or a color hex. URL navigation. Use a strict allow list for protocols when rendering links or performing navigations. There's that URL validation, just like Angular. And then you render that link using the validate and sanitize function. Target is blank, REL, no opener, no refer. Routing. Now this is a bit more opinionated. Use React Router 6 or above. Never pass untrusted input to 2. Gate all navigations through validate and sanitize URL. Any internal routes, no free-form paths, please, and prefer link to safe or programmatic navigate to safe. These are all secure navigation patterns. To prevent open redirects, only allow an untrusted redirect URL via an allow list. This is the OAuth 2 recommendation. OAuth 2 says, don't use wildcard patterns, don't use regexes, just use simple string comparison when doing URL validation. I'm mimicking the same thing here in React. Let's keep going. So inputs, data, and validation. Validate type. Use the HTML5 regex for email validation. Validate output with Zod, and so on and so forth. Third-party library discipline, component prop hygiene, my design final principles, and the last crucial rule, if you know a secure React rule not listed above, please apply it anyways. So as these models get better, I want to still teach them, look, if you're going to render this and you know a trick that I don't, apply it, and I'll ask you about it later. So there you go. And this is what? 107 lines of sentence fragments. These are not like detailed, complex ideas. And the more complex it is, the less it's going to fire. So if you have a compound sentence, just break it up into 2 small rules. You want to see this fire? Let's see. Wish me luck. These are all like, again, these are, what do you call them? These are probabilistic engines. So welcome back. Thank you. So I'm going to apply this system prompt. And the last note is, please just apply the rules. Okay, understood. All future React code is going to be secure by default 19.2. Let's go. Copilot already does a decent job because of my account history. I'm still going to see how it reacts to my rule system. I'm going to go to Claude. Claude, you broke my heart, Claude. Used to be such a good engine. What happened, Claude? You got greedy, didn't you? It wasn't enough, so you needed more. Okay, sorry. We got Grok. Damn you, Elon. Oh, get rid of that little C there. Super Grok. Apply the prompts. So I've now, and this, again, how do you run a system prompt? It could be a Gemini gem. They could just dump, it could be in their IDE instruction set. It could be in a proxy that attaches it to your dev request automatically. I've seen people use it, again, Gemini gem, OpenAI agent, Copilot agent. There's a lot of ways to roll this out. But think about, as a security engineer, what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to influence developers to write code a certain way. It's like pulling teeth because you already have enough work to do. And now the security engineer shows up, who typically is not a top-tier developer, but good at security engineering, and I'm going to tell you how to write code. It's usually like a little bit of an adversarial thing, right? So the goal as a security engineer now is I work with the architect, the lead developers. We build a system prompt with our rules. We apply an agent. We push it out and tell developers, all you have to do is switch to our agent within your drop-down menu in your IDE, and I'll leave you alone. And now I control how that agent writes secure code and can tweak the rules as I go, influence how developers write secure code, and it gives me hope as a community that AI will help us do better with security engineering. And the common wisdom is the opposite. I disagree. We're just at the beginning figuring it out. Once AI hits the next phase of maturity in a year or two, we're going to have these prompts running security for us, and technical vulnerabilities will start to fade away. And we'll be able to work on the bigger problems, other quality issues. So let's try the same dev prompt after I've system prompted all the 5 frontier models live, right? So I'm going to, come on, Claude, pay attention. So we got, damn you, Elon. I used to really love Elon Musk. He was my hero, but he went a little fascist on us. I'm not so big a fan of that Elon these days. But anyways, don't talk politics in Europe. Sorry, I'm going to move on. Okay, look at ChatGPT. And they even put emojis in comments. That's how you know it's doing a good job. Emojis in comments, oh, you are in. So look at this beauty. Remember what it was before? Just wide open insecure. There's the validate and sanitize URL, HTTPS mail to and tell. There's the create trusted HTML that runs DOM Purify, clean as can be. There's the user profile page. There's the binding sanitizers. There's the home page rendered safely. If it's not valid, or if it's a JavaScript URL or a data URL, it'll just return to pound as a placeholder. And then down here, dangerously set inner HTML has gone through the sanitizer up above. See, we made it safe. This went from an F to a straight up A+ because of a clean system prompt. And then we look at Copilot. How are you doing, Copilot? Copilot's now using Zod for output validation. It's got a validate sanitize URL function just on the 3 protocols I specified. It's now doing validate and sanitize better with the safe link class. It cleaned up the mess they had before. So it's going to do the safe href. So it did a great job. Let's look at it again. There's a safe link component that automatically sanitizes the URL before it renders it in an attribute with no opener, no refer, or blank. This is exactly how I would build this to roll out a utility function to my team, and AI just figured it out for me. What else do I have here? There's the trusted type binder. There's the policy. It's got limited tags and attributes. This is and then down here there's the home page. It's now rendering the safe link with the sanitization built in. And there's the description HTML that fully goes through the sanitized HTML component. That's A+++, because they componentized the security controls great. This is a giant improvement to what we saw before. How about Claude? You broke my heart, Claude. What do you got? Down Purify. There's the validate function that wasn't there before. There's the sanitized description. There's the sanitize URL function. We're rendering the sanitized URL with no open or refer in blank for tab napping. We got what else do we got? We got that's all. They put a form in there. Last name, first name, username, edit button. Yeah, dangerous to enter HTML on the sanitized description. You're fine, Claude. Much, much better. We take a look at Grok. Damn you, Elon. All right, sorry. DOM Purify. We have validate sanitize URL. We have, let's just look at it. There it is. There's the safe homepage URL, no open or refer in blank, and there's the sanitized description. And last but not least, Gemini. Yep, it's doing DOM Purify and Zod, trusted types. It's rendering, I'm not going to look at it carefully. It's rendering the homepage with the secure homepage validator response. It's only used dangerously with trusted types DOM Purify, dangerously on the sanitized description, which went through the sanitizer. One rule system, 5 engines that went from F, C, F, all went to straight A's because of a mature system prompt. This is the future of vibe coding. You don't have to build it from scratch, right? There's a lot of work done in different open source projects. But the trick here is this. You take your senior architect, the senior security person, the expert in that framework, and you work on a prompt together. This becomes so important for the next couple of years of development that I recommend you put them in source control. You maintain them as a team. Build some unit testing around them. Because when I take a senior developer and I show them system prompting and they start prompting their security rules and architectural guidance, I see some senior developers go up to like 1,000%, like times 10 in terms of their measurable code check-in productivity. Not 20, 30, 40% like I see from the studies. I'm talking 10x, 1,000% gain. I'm not kidding around. I've seen individual architects who are very good at requirements and setting security requirements build out enterprise software that would have taken me 6 months in like a week with a lot of reviewers, a lot of QA, and 1 or 2 developers vibe coding prompts. This is the future of development. A lot more review, a lot less development, a lot less low-level code, a lot more using agentic AI-driven tools that have been trained or prompted with your security rules. That's my demo. That's my story. I have more to show you, but let me take a pause for a second. Any questions on any of this? What do you think, folks? Yes, go. Go talk to Claude. Go talk to OpenAI. Go talk to Microsoft. There's a whole industry of agentic review. And how does Claude make more? Does Claude make more money? And this is kind of conspiracy-ish, but my take on it is Claude and all these companies make money if you burn tokens. They set up all these agentic loop systems that work, but they burn tokens dramatically. The whole security industry is opening up MCP servers for you to go talk to their MCP to get security analysis of your code. So the whole industry is based upon the fact that you should spend money on a lot of tokens. And if you want quality and security, you got to burn even more tokens. And this little technique is about saving tokens, saving time, and getting it right up front. And from the AI world of the big AI players, they don't want to hear it. But in terms of enterprises I show this to, they all want to hear it. One of my customers firmly did not believe in AI, and they asked me to try to convince them, like show us how to do it, right, whatever that means. So we did a little bit of system prompting, and like a week later, I got 20,000 developers using AI models. Like not even like months, but like weeks later, they buy Copilot, and from the buying of Copilot to rolling out the agent was like 20 minutes. This is all set up to roll out agents. So. And there's not a lot of money to be made in this for me. I sell prompts, but like, I'm a teacher. So I'm not going to help I'm not going to help AI sell tokens. I'm trying to eliminate the security analysis industry. Nobody cares about this except for developers at big companies who are using AI to write code. When you start prompting this, you're more efficient. You're writing higher quality code. You get your work done faster. And especially if you're a consultant, you're not burning tokens. So there's a big motivation for enterprises to burn tokens, and I'm trying to go the other direction. How can I save tokens and get it right up front? Nobody wants to hear that. I hope you do, though. And these prompts, you know what the most common question I get is, hey, can I have a copy of your prompts? These are things you can build yourself, folks. You got a role and some secure coding rules. You can even use different agents to help you build initial prompts. The way that I build my prompts for my own development is I have like one for React, one for Flutter desktop, one for Flutter for the web, one for Flutter mobile, and I've broken it down by framework because the more frameworks I try to cram into one prompt, the less it's going to fire. And AI does a better job with like little narrow AI doing specific tasks. And think about it, the AI that I'm using to write high-risk secret code right now, it also has like 20 gigabytes of kids talking about Labubu dolls in its database. And I'm not even being sarcastic. You hear what I'm saying? These are giant general-purpose models that I have to prompt. I think the future is going to be the more narrow coding models specific for a framework with the right security rule system in. So this is the best I got right now. We'll see how things change. But I'll tell you this, it works, and it's not that difficult. So as an architect, you build your system prompt for the framework. I'll tell you this, if you're allowed to, I'll take a basic security prompt and a code base and say, alter this prompt for secure coding rules specific to this project, libraries, and architecture. And I can start tweaking my prompts specific to individual projects, and the quality goes up even more. Like I've built system prompts that define access control policy, and now I even get AI to do semi-decent access control development. So this system prompt is basically, you brought in a junior developer, and they rock from a productivity point of view, but they're still new. What are you going to teach that person? Put it in a prompt, roll it out as an agent, deploy it to your IDE, so a priori, these rules fire up front. And why does OpenAI, I don't know why OpenAI doesn't do this. I don't know. In the meantime, I'm building system prompts. Any questions about any of this? Yes?
So, for your React system prompt, how long did it take you to mature it to where it is today?
About 2 years. Not 2 years of work. It's like, even the first version fired really well. But then I rolled it out to like a company bought it, and I have like 50,000 devs using it, and I got a lot of little feedback of small mistakes that were being made. So that loop is how I got to fine tune it a bit. But the first version for my coding was awesome. And what I learned, I took like real simple. I went to this team, and I'm like, give me a zip of all the code, and here's my generic prompt. And I dump both these into Gemini, because Gemini has a 1 million token limit and can handle big questions. So it's got this giant code base and my system prompt, and I'm like, look, I don't want to sacrifice security rules, but help me fine-tune the prompt for the attached zip, which is this big enterprise project. And I deep researched it, and Gemini came back and gave me like 5 or 6 fine-tuning suggestions. I only used like 2 of them. So I use AI to compare a core prompt against a code base to help me refine it. But the first version, I'll tell you this, here's the first version of your prompt. Please act as an expert React developer and write secure code. Stop, that's your first prompt. And that will improve security by about 65% statistically. And then see what mistakes are made and add additional ruling. If you really get a fine-tuned prompt, you're eliminating like 99% of technical vulnerabilities. And that whole suffering of writing code, having someone scan it, going back and fixing it, that loop starts to fade a bit as you fine tune your prompt. So just start with my role, the framework, the version of the framework. You want secure idiomatic code, write secure code, you're done. That's your first system prompt, and grow it, put under source control, fork it for different frameworks, and start to mature these over time. Other thing you can do is, like, what framework do you work on? What's that?
I'm like you, I work on a lot of different.
Yeah, pick a framework.
Traditionally a .NET.
So let's do .NET Core Security Guide, right? Let's go look this up. I think Microsoft has a big guide here, right? Yeah, secure coding for .NET at Microsoft Learn. Let's see, secure coding guidelines. Oh, yeah. Okay, manage blah, blah, blah. See also securing state data. All right, what can we do with this, right? So it's like, hey, help me build a system prompt for, for secure. This is not where I end. This is where I start, right? For secure, .NET Core development, and lean heavily on this guide. And I would normally do a deep research hit. And you want to do even better? I don't like putting URLs. I would go to the site and extract all their content, PDF, and say, look, here's the guide. Don't make it go do rag. Here's the actual content. Now build me an initial prompt and then edit it carefully with an expert. But even this this is lazy prompting. Nothing fancy about this at all. No deep research. I'm using the quick and dirty Flash engine. I'm not using the paid advanced capabilities. You are Sentinel, a dedicated expert .NET Core security architect and code reviewer. Your function is to enforce and educate on secure coding practices, blah, blah, blah. Security first, core reference, language, critical security checklists, input validation, data handling, cryptography. All right. So what do we got here? What do I got here? This is share and export. Yeah, why not? Let's share. Let's copy contents. Let's get Sublime Text up and running. Let's go. Whoa. No. Excuse me. Let's go back to ChatGPT. Please convert this. Please convert. Oh, come on, I can't type. Please convert this to clean markdown. Sorry. Come on, Gemini with your bad art. There we go, much better. There's Sentinel. You are Sentinel. You know it's great. There's emoji in it. Honestly, people are like, I'm worried about AI ruining the world. I'm worried about society collapsing. I'm worried about never being able to work again. I'm worried about, you know what I worry about? When I try to use emoji in communication, people think I'm AI. That's my top concern. I know, we all have different concerns. It's my suffering, don't minimize it. Don't. So there we go. Yeah, much better. Let me drop the garbage down here. Boom, boom, boom. Response format, that's great. And I'm going to save this file, save as, right? I'm going to go to the desktop just for now. And this is like my, this is .NET Core Secure Coding .markdown. I got my first little prompt here. You got to edit it. Look at it carefully. I tend to not, and I would say you're Sentinel and expert .NET and code engine and no, I don't want this. Here, let me go. I'm going to go to React. So I want to grab this. I like this because I want it to be not a reviewer. I want it to be a coder. An idiomatic .NET Core. I should specify a version. I'm not going to do that right now, though. .NET Core, focus on security, maintainability, and accessibility, and I'll call it a day. There's the role setting right now, and I'll drop this mess here. So I want you to write code. And now I got my mandates. Security first coding, the core reference. Yeah, use the Microsoft Secure Coding Guidelines. They're really well written. There's the principles. That we're going to do C#, asynchronous programming, dependency injection. I don't care about tone. You're writing code. I'm going to drop that for now. Critical security input validation. That's great. Data handling. I don't want the I'll leave it in for now. I clean up the principal. Cryptography. If I wanted better encryption, I would recommend like Kyber for, what is it? I'd recommend Kyber for key exchange and Dilithium for signatures. Those are the post-quantum algorithms that got rolled out to Microsoft 11 recently. I would use, they're available in Windows right now. I'd probably use post-quantum if I want to do that. Random number generator, there's access control, error handling, This is a great start. So let's grab this. Let's go to ChatGPT, and let's try this prompt that took me 30 seconds to build. Let's apply it. Help me, give me a .NET Core dev prompt. Let's build something with this rule system. So please provide your first code sample. So let's acknowledge we're in Sentinel mode with this thing I just slapped together lazily. So someone give me a dev prompt. What are we going to build? All right, you know what? I'll just do it. I'll go back to React. I'll go to create for me in .NET Core. Same thing. We have at least validation in place. I'd go and fine tune that. Say, give me, the main thing I want in validators is a max length to stop denial of service at minimum. How are we doing here? Boo, boo, boo. Looking good. Looking good. It's using raw HTML, HTML utility, HTML encode, the output. That's actually secure, but it's not going to render HTML. I got work to do to fix this prompt. It's not a security vulnerability, but it is a functionality vulnerability. The home page is rendering the home page URL. It's not validating it. So I need to augment this validator and bring in my validation rules. So I'm gonna bring this in right here. So I'm gonna grab this right here, and I'm gonna say for URL and navigation safety, I want the same thing. Where'd it go? There it is. So I want the same thing here. I'm gonna add this to up here and say, and I'll just call it for now, I'll say missing controls, right? These are things that the core one didn't do. And I'm gonna say, user strict allows protocols when rendering links and performing navigations. I'm being lazy here, so convert this to C#, and I'll do it in JavaScript for now. Then I'll say render it like that. This is total weak sauce, but I want to show you what even a sloppy prompt can do to improve the quality of AI writing code. So let's give this one a try, and then I'll go back to Q&A. So let's dump this one in with the validator. Nope, not that. Sorry. What are you doing, Jim? Start over. There's my system prompt trying to get URL validation. I didn't plan to do this. I'm just kind of going with it here to show you the point I'm trying to make is this is something you can get rolling on extremely quickly. What I'd rather do is see a vulnerability report from your project and build a prompt based on that. I'd have much better luck in fixing code. So it knows what to do. It's got the URL validator. I'll do one more attempt at this just for fun and say, create for me in .NET Core. Let's see if I got any of this fixed right now. So, applied, required, here we go. Now better validation, required string length and URL. There's URL validation. There's the protocol checker right in there. It finally got URL validation. There's the razor view, URL sanitizer now. And I need to go and add a rule to sanitize HTML. There's a library called in .NET, the HTML purifier, or HTML sanitizer that I'd use for this to increase it. But look at that. I just got started. I grabbed the Microsoft guide, built a basic prompt, and I'm watching it do better security, and I'm 5 minutes in. So this is called prompt engineering, but that usually implies developer prompting for features. This is really system prompt engineering to define your architectural standards. It's like night and day. Let me show you a couple other things. How much time do I have before the section's over? 7 minutes? Let me show you just a couple other things that I have within these rule sets that have helped me out quite a bit. And so a couple other things are, there's metrics in the world of static analysis, of analyzing code that no one's looked at for years. But these are really interesting. One of them is called cyclomatic complexity. Anyone hear of that before? This is really obscure. This term shows, did you learn about the term because of development or because of AI? Where did you learn the context of that term? Developed long time ago. So cyclomatic complexity is a maintainability metric. It means there's a low number of linear paths through your code. Do you know, or are you a clever coder and you like to use recursion? You like to build really clever, slick code? Is that you? You are destructive to software engineering if you code that way. I started my career as a clever coder, and my boss was like, Jim, do you think I'm a sociopath? And I'm like, I'm certain you got bodies buried. He's like, you're leaving the company. I'm about to inherit 2 years of your code, and I'm a sociopathic maniac. How's that going to work out for you? I'm like, Dave, how about I stay for an extra month and clean up my code? He's like, that will keep you useful to me, Jim. And you want that, don't you? Yes, I do, sir. And so he was right, though. So I ripped out my recursion, I ripped out all the high cyclomatic functions, and I simplified the code as best I could to make it maintainable. That's how mature engineers code. You don't code for your own edification. You code for the next person who's got to maintain your crap. That's real mature software engineering. And if you use recursion a lot in development, damn you, stop it. Recursion is almost always leading to race conditions and hard to maintain code. Nobody should use recursion in software engineering. Now, these are my opinions. You're an and I might have upset you, not my intention. If you're an architect and you have different opinions, then put them in your prompt for maintainability. But my prompts are about 30 years of maintaining other people's code. I want low cyclomatic complexity, low number of linear paths and small functions. I want low cognitive complexity, easy for humans to understand, low complex logic. When it is complex, it's broken up into small pieces. High cohesion. These are maintainability metrics that make it way easier for me to write secure code. And so I'm going to put these metrics in my prompt. And the difference is like night and day. Low cyclomatic, low cognitive, high cohesion. Here's a little snippet of one of my prompts that just do code quality. Maintain low cyclomatic complexity. Write simple modular code for reliability testing and bug prevention. Minimize cognitive complexity. Keep the logic clear. Avoid code duplication, the dry principle. High cohesion, loose coupling. Group related functionality in folders and make sure components are not coupled tightly. Use clear naming conventions. Follow single responsibility. Do WK guidelines for accessibility. You get to define what these are. I'm opinionated, so I don't like complex code. I'm coding for the next person to maintain it. You might be on a more elite team of all senior devs. You've all agreed that it's okay to do the recursion and other kind of advanced stuff. That's fine. Then edit this for your team. So this is what system prompting is about. Number one, I set the role. I'm a secure React 19.2 developer. Two, I set maintainability, low cyclomatic, minimize cognitive complexity, and so on. Or if you like it, make sure every function uses recursion. Whatever you want to do. That's your call. I'm out, though. And then three, look at your vulnerability reports. Where are your developers making mistakes? Where's AI making mistakes? Codify those rules in simple one-shot rules. And you just went from vibe coding to enterprise vibe coding. I'm done. If you have questions, let me know. I got 2 minutes. I'll give back to you. Before I fully close out, any other questions at all on this topic of vibe coding? I hope this pushes you in a direction to build these system prompts with your teams and to have more responsible AI software development. I think this is a very exciting area. Don't be worried about your job. I would be worried about pushing forward and learning how to use these new tool sets maturely. The psychological benefit of AI coding is measured. It's a happier, more productive, smoother place to code. And I think the future is bright. And I hope you're a part of it. Thank you for your time, everyone. Have a wonderful day.